If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Sorry, my bad. Take a right, go down 2 blocks. I didn't know. Hi, thank you for tuning in to That's the Setup podcast. I'm your host, Sharika Duncan, a new author of the Setup novel. Check me out on Instagram at Sharika Duncan and on Facebook as Sharika Duncan Author or my website, sharikaduncan.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to That's the Setup podcast. I'm Sharika Duncan, and joining me is my wonderful co-host, Miss Roland Mayhew. Good evening, Roland.
Good evening, Sharika, and good evening, world. It's been a long time, but hello, we're back.
Yes, we're back, live and in color. So, Roland, how was your day?
Today, let's just say it's not a memorable day. It was just another Friday.
Oh, gosh, yes. Wet Friday?
But I'm wet and nasty and cold Friday in Atlanta. Yeah. How about over there?
Yeah, it was wet. It was a little misty majority of the day. So it did not do well with my hair. Trying to wear my natural hair today.
Yes. You do have a nice new hairstyle.
Okay. It was like not.
I hope you put a plastic bag.
Girl.
Saran wrapped it or something.
It's a whole nother topic. We definitely need to save that one for discussion later.
The war with natural hair? Yeah.
Yes. Like, what are the tips and get some feedback on how our sisters are overcoming weather conditions?
Yeah, I throw on a wig or in a hat. That's how I get over it. It works for me. It works for me. I know it's not everybody's thing, but I like to experiment, and I really don't have the time to be trying to do everything else.
I love it. Yes. See, you got to be confident to wear those like the wigs and the extensions.
Honey, I have it in every color, every length. Man, I don't care. And I be rocking it too. Those certain people at work be like, "Oh my God, you cut your hair," and then 2 weeks later, my hair is back down to my butt. Oh my God, your hair grew back so fast. It's a different color. Like, yeah. I take a lot of vitamins. Yeah.
I love it. I love the freedom of expression. Yes.
Oh, that it does. Yeah, that it does.
Yes, keep it flowing. I mean, that's the diversity of all of us, our heritage. So, like, in terms of our topic this evening, Lauren, what are we here to talk about this tonight?
Well, in that it's been a while since we've been on, and we wanted to give you listeners something really good, something that I'm sure affects all of us. If it hasn't, keep living. Eventually it will, you know. So today's topic is being indebted to someone. And You know how that goes. You do someone a favor one time and then act like you owe them the world and then some. What about you, Sharika?
Shut up.
Girl.
Yes, I agree. Now you owe them the world in return for that $5.99 combo meal or something. I don't understand it. I mean, when you talk about indebted to someone, I mean, in my mind, it refers to doing a favor, like you mentioned, but without certain conditions, you know?
Exactly, yes. When you run someone a favor, you should do it out of the goodness of your heart, you know, and not have the expectation, oh, that person owed me. I did a lot. I went out of my way to do this. I ain't had to do it. Yes, you did have to do it. As human beings and as us sharing one earth, living in one space, if we see one fall, it is our duty to help that person up without being like, well, I helped you when you was down, so, you know, I need you to be my indentured slave for the next 12 years. Like, no.
And it's true. There are people who count their favors, thinking that they are going to recoup it back in some way or the other, you know?
Oh, no, you're definitely right. You're definitely right. There's some people who, you know, they keep a list of all the favors they've done for you. And it could have been something that happened, like, literally years ago, and every now and then you'll hear it again. You'll be like, well, remember that one time I was the one that blah, 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 blah? Yes, I do. And I remember saying thank you for that 2-3 years ago. Wow, we're still talking about it.
And you know what, too? I mean, now that you mention it, it could be anything. It could be something. It may not be monetarily or tangible.
No.
It could be like a tip or advice or, you know,
exactly.
you the one, remember I hooked you and such up, and now that's your fiance or husband. They want credit.
Or remember that time you were really depressed and I spent time calling you every day making sure you was all right? You're supposed to if you still call my friend. Why? I don't even know why that's a topic, you know, for conversation. Oh, do you remember that one time, you know, you were down and I called you every day? Why are we talking about this?
Right. It's sort of like we're talking about it so that we can acknowledge them being more of value to us, like superior.
Yeah. So what does someone doing you a favor mean? Like you mentioned before, it doesn't have to just be monetary or tangible. It could be in the form of an advice. It could be in the form of being a listening ear, unfortunately. It could be in a form of just the smallest things, asking someone a question and they answered it. I mean, it sounds petty, but it's real, though. If it wasn't real, I wouldn't be talking about it. I don't talk about anything that I know is not real, meaning I've experienced it or known other people that have experienced it.
Yeah.
Yes. Even advice. You ask someone for an advice, like you said, and, you know, next thing you know.
Yeah, so, it's like they bill you. That's next. They bill you.
Yeah.
Even
that's a good way of looking at it. They do bill you like a lawyer, right?
Right. Like, for instance, you can be like you and I having a adult conversation, and you may, like, I ask how was your day, you ask how was my day, and I may say, oh man, I had car problems. Oh, well, I know a mechanic. You know, you can call my mechanic next time and just tell him I told you to call him. With that tip alone, they somehow, other people could, partake it as that you owe them something in return, and just for suggesting.
Girl, God forbid the mechanic didn't do well. Then you'll never hear it. Well, you owe me because you're the one who sent me to that mechanic, and he was supposed to fix this, but he busted that. Like, how am I supposed to predict all that was going to happen?
Yes.
You know, so calm down a bit.
Oh, wow, that's a good point. It can go both ways. It can go from the fact of, well, you the one told me to call, or you recommended this such and such person or service. I don't know. It has value either way. So why not get paid for it?
But how do you even get yourself in that situation to begin with? And how did you even end up asking someone for a favor? Was it something that you really couldn't do for yourself at that moment, or did the person offer you a favor and you took advantage of it, not knowing you just signed your life away? How do one get stuck in a situation like that?
Well, it could be multiple. It could be more, several of those things that you just mentioned. Sometimes there are people who manipulate others. Honestly, they feed off of being a giver, but a taker also. They want something in return. So sometimes they just offer their help without, warranted any assistance. They just give it to you. And then they sit back and count all of the times that they've came in and rescued you.
But how does that make you feel? I know for me, it'll get to a point where, I just don't want to deal with nobody because I'm afraid if I ask someone for a favor or they offer me a favor and I take it on, I'm afraid that I'm just going to be like owing someone, and owing people doesn't feel good. You don't like it when you owe the bill collector. You don't like it when you owe, you owe student loans and you got to pay it. So let alone knowing that you owe your emotions and your life and your time to someone, for what? Is it worth it?
No. But I feel like we all, if someone offers something to you, then, I don't know, some of us may not look at it as I need to repay them. There are people who would milk favors to the ground. You
don't take it to a whole nother level.
They don't mind asking, could you help me offline, under the table,
Yeah. and you think it was going to be that one time.
Yeah, like they're a millionaire and they got it, fabulous lifestyle, and they're behind the scenes asking for favors, initiating favors.
Wow.
So, I could understand. There are several different routes of how people. I'm just describing that as someone who may not feel obligated to repay an individual. I believe it's a character trait. I feel like it's something in the breakdown of your personality. The value. I don't know if it's more so values that, like, for instance, you mentioned, I'm right there. I agree with you. I'm more, in the lines of, if someone does something, in a genuine offer, I'm going to make sure I clear it, with them and ask if I could please repay you or do something generous in return.
Yes, so, give me that option to do so. Don't make me feel like I have to, because really I don't.
Yeah, and I'm the type, like, for me, when I'll find myself, whenever I'm asked to do a favor, I feel myself, if I act out this favor, I'm not expecting anything in return. Even though they might verbalize it and say, I'm going to pay you back, I'm going to do this and that. That was a closed transaction or whatever. Like, I'm doing this out of love, out of, a blessing to you. I'll get it from somewhere else. you know, in a miraculous way if I go forth with it on my own terms. That way I'm at peace about it. But there aren't that many like us. They will count down to the T. If you don't have tip money at the restaurant, remember I left the tip, so you need to go and pay some gas on the car.
Oh, girl. Those kind. It's a tit for tat. I did this, so you do that. I did this, and you do that. Okay. I'm sure, we should have talked about this beforehand. I'm an adult. I'm pretty sure if I saw that you did something, I could extend an offer on my own without you reminding me that, you gave a $2 tip. Now I got to pump $20 worth of gas in your car.
Yeah, no. It's not even balanced. But it comes to the point. I feel like there are people who just made up in their mind that they're prepared to act out favors, but not willingly. So they feel as if there are people who are just forced to give favors just because they want control of the situation. They want to control the individual, and that's a form of manipulation, just to get the satisfaction of helping you.
You brought up a good point. Now, there are some people who will and often do go out of their way to offer favors back to back to back. And not because they're expecting something, but in a way, it sounds strange, but it's a way for them to feel needed by other people, I suppose.
Yeah. Because sometimes people go through things.
Yeah, and you'd be like, why are you doing this? Or why you let somebody talk to you like that and do this and do that? Oh, I don't mind. That's not a good answer, that you don't mind. There's a reason why you're doing it. You're not accepting anything back from them, but why you allow, because at some point it's going to end up where people are just plain straight up using you.
Yeah, I had a weird situation. Now, let's talk about, we talked about examples, but I'm going to get into the weeds and give you an example of a real life situation that I was in. I found myself into a certain giver donating, let's say, a monetary contribution to a business. At the time when it was presented, it appeared to be genuine. It appeared to be, I believe in what your mission is. I believe in everything that you are doing. Here's a seed. Here's a seed without any conditions. Yet, verbally that was said, okay? But for me, and it was actually presented to where you must take this. This is something that you have to allow, us to do, to somehow be a seed giver into your business, a first seed. And I took it, although I was reluctant, because I'm aware of certain scenarios in my mind that could play either way. But it didn't take long for the truth to reveal. They gave the seed in hopes of having a interest in the business, having a percentage in it, to where they proposed that I partnered the business into their fold.
Without first having a conversation about that? Y'all ain't never discussed that at all?
Never ever discussed it at all. And it happened maybe 3 weeks out. It didn't take long for it to so, just, I didn't understand how fast it happened, but luckily I had witnesses that, just was around when it happened. And so I was prepared. Once I saw the writing on the wall, I was prepared to reimburse them. And it was verbalized. If I did not do that, then they need to probably reconsider the investment that they gave, which was a donation, but it was now turned into, it was an investment. You wanted to not donate a seed into the business. You wanted to invest in it in hopes of it being a motivational decision for me to jump on board with their business and partner. But, you don't mix apples with onions. It's sort of like, you have different business work. Everyone doesn't work the same. Everyone doesn't have the same ethics. So a lot of that was, it wasn't.
But you can't strong arm your way into someone else's business or into a partnership. That's what they sound like they did. It's like I'm giving you this money and now I want part of your business or I want to partner with you. No, They don't run like that.
It was a religious entity that gave.
Oh.
So we can go down the road. It was a church that provided the seed. That's how I was fuzzy, because I couldn't really see the writing on the wall, because it was a church that gave the seed into the business. And then it transpired where the church gave the seed because the church wanted the business to come into the church and thrive in the church and be a part of it.
But I don't understand, why not have a real conversation with you prior to trying to strong arm their way into a partnership with you? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's a character trait. And so I was prepared to reimburse immediately. And that's how the deal kind of and I eased my way from under them, because I felt like, oh my gosh, this is a preacher. And, this comes very dirty. So people will give favors for their own purpose, their own, the manipulation. I feel like they manipulate. I like how you said strong-willed, but some people do things in exchange for something else. Then you have some that just do it out of the kindness of their heart. So it does carry a price, a favor.
Yeah, so when does it become, when a favor crosses the line, though? We know that there's good people out there and they do good stuff, but, this isn't our everyday life situation. It's like, when does it cross the line?
I believe when it's repetitious and...
Or when it's forced, like in that situation with your seed, that was forced. That's like, hey, I'm kicking the door and I'm going to come in and take your stuff. And you're just going to agree with it.
And it was a different type of force. It was a force of it wasn't aggressive. It was a passive force.
Mhm.
And once it was clear, as soon as it was clear, verbalized, I was prepared to fix it. And unfortunately, I think if you are the receiver, you should be in position to react or respond when that favor becomes, manipulative.
Mhm. Wow.
There is a price. That's what the price is, being prepared to, clean slate, just correct the whole scenario, pull out, reward.
My own personal experience, this is favoritism in the form of manipulation, where I had somebody, who told me, you know what I did for you? You know what all I had to give up? You know who I had to stop talking to and who did it. Like, they literally ran down a laundry list of pretty much they gave up everything for me, and I'm not receiving them the way that they expected me to receive them. And in my mind, I was like, okay, how do I know that these are true? You know what I mean? And you shouldn't give up everything for someone unless you're pretty sure that someone is, I don't care if you are married to someone. I don't think anyone should give up everything for one person. You should be able to compromise. But Yeah. And I felt like he was reminding me of all that to try to make me feel